All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Welcome to the All Sports All Plays Network on the All Sports All Plays College Breakdown. I am Ray Cruz. My co-host will be joining me momentarily. We are getting a little bit of a late start here today because we only have 4 games really to break down. Is in the college championship, conference championship games this week. We will be breaking down some of them games for you. We'll be talking a little bit about the Heisman, and we'll be talking about some of the college playoffs, what some scenarios that could play out after these days game has been played. So we will get the final tally party Tuesday once these conference championships are over. Who are the 12 teams going to make the inaugural college football playoff 12-man team? First time in college football that format has been played. So we will find out. Could Alabama make it in with a 9-3 record? Could Clemson play a little bit of a spoiler on that by beating SMU? Will SMU lose today, disqualify them into the college playoffs at a 10-1 record? So we got all that coming up, and then we will get the reaction next week to Tuesday's announcements of who are the 12-team playoffs. So we'll be there with you on that thing here on the All Sports All Plays Network next Saturday. We'll break all that down, and then we got our luxury Army-Navy game that we will be breaking down. 2 Navy veterans on the show. Go Navy, beat Army. That's always our motto here on the All Sports All Plays Network. But we got to be biased because we are a sports team. We are a sports announcer, so we will be a bias about that game and break it all down to you for the Armed Forces next week, which I think I'm glad they put that down by themselves. I think that pageantry of football game is a very pageantry for the veterans and for active duty, the camaraderie between Air Force, between the Army and Navy. Put the Air Force in there a little bit there. But this will be for the Commander-in-Chief's Cup. Play on the line here under the first-year head coach for the Navy Academy against the veteran coach of the Army. We're going to see how that game plays out. Both teams had a very successful season. American Conference champion Army, who won the American Championship for the first time in the first year in that conference play. Also, we'll see Navy a 6-2 record. Already qualified for a bowl game. They were pretty much in that talk of the college playoffs until they faced Notre Dame. Notre Dame really silenced both of those academies out of that playoff picture. Even though Army finishes 10-1, I don't think they still going to qualify because they're not played in top tier. And when they did play a top tier team in Notre Dame, they did not have a good showing. So that's a little bit of reality for the academies, for the Army and Naval Academy. So we will talk about a little bit more of that criteria there on that talk. When Dre joins me here hopefully after the break here, we'll be breaking down some of the college games that are happening today. We're going to talk about some of the Heisman Trophy candidates. If Trevor Harner is the lock pick, or does the Boise State running back Ashton Jetty can play really a spoiler in that play there too. So we'll be bringing all that down here on the All Sports All Plays College Breakdown on the All Sports All Plays Network. We'll be right back after these messages.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. 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 365, we're making a plays. You're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the air, we're taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. 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 365, we're making a plays. You're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the air, we're taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. 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 365, we're making a plays. You're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the air, we're taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Plays College Breakdown on the All Sports All Plays Network. So I am Ray Cruz. My co-host hasn't come back. Will be joining us momentarily here. Let's take care of some business here. You see it down the bottom of the screen here. You can support us by sending stars. Stars will help earn money to make more content just like this on the All Sports All Plays Network. If you wanted to join in and helping us survive, play this network all the way out and make it a big time, send us some stars, send us some support. You can do it here on the Facebook on All Sports All Plays Network. You can help build our contents there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll pin that up to the top of the thing so you'll see that when you come in here. But let's talk about the Heisman Trophy. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're getting down to the college football, into the college football season. We're getting down to who are going to be the 12 teams in the college playoffs. We're getting that all situated here. Let's look at a little bit of here. Let's look at Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is a wide receiver / cornerback for the Colorado Buffaloes. A lot of people think he's got a lockdown. He's a junior, 6'1", 185 pounds from Swami, Georgia. He's very athletic. He can play both sides, wide receiver and cornerback. He's a shutdown corner. But he also has made it his attention known in the NFL. He wants to play both ways. He wants to be the next Deion Sanders, playing with corner and wide receiver. So when a team drafted him, they're going to really draft a two-player into one package, a package deal. So they'll probably run some plays from a wide receiver and then put him in a starting role in the corner, which he is a shutdown corner. Can that talent relate to the next level? That's something that Travis Hunter is going to have to deal with, because whoever wins the Heisman Trophy, there has been some stinks in the Heisman Trophy. I mean, got to the NFL level, it really hasn't panned out in a few years that people have won. Is that a jinx? A lot of people think so. But let's take away what we have right now in the stats. Who is going to push Travis Hunter to the break of this thing? And a lot of people think it's the Boise State Broncos running back Austin Genty. He's been in talks all season. Cam Ward's been in talks all season. Dylan Gabriel's been in all talks. I mean, Gabriel is playing with a number one ranked team in Oregon, undefeated. They're going into the Big Ten Conference Championship in the first year in the Big Ten. There's a lot of things there on that list. Curtis Rourke from Indiana was number 5, number 5 on my list. At number 4, I have Cam Ward from Miami. I think some of the losses that he has really tainted his performance down a little bit because of the team is not in that talk. Could be in that talk. Could be in that last 2 spots of the college play. But we just got a lot of Dylan's here. Got a lot of scenarios that we're going to break down here when My co-host gets here. But then I got Dalen Gabriel, number 3 for the Oregon quarterback. He's on my list at number 3. Then I have number 2, Austin Gente from Boise State, and I have Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy. But we're going to detail some numbers here in the front. My first 2 picks here, and Travis Hunter. He has improved every year at the wide receiver core. He only had 18 receptions in 2022 for 190 yards, 10.6, and had 4 touchdowns. Then in 2023, he had 57 receptions, 720 yards, 12.6 average with 5 touchdowns. This year, he played a lot more snaps at wide receiver in 2024. He had 92 receptions, 1,152 yards with a 12.5 average and 14 touchdowns. But you got to look at it here. He also has 2 carries as a rushing for 5 yards this year for 2.5. In 2022, he had 1 for -10. So, I mean, the rushing yard is not really effective, but we got to look at the wide receiver effectiveness that he has been this year for Colorado. But also on the defensive side, because he's playing 2 spots, that gives him a little bit of a hands down, like a Charles Wilson advantage in the Heisman Trophy, because you got to evaluate his corner position and his wide receiver position. So that gives him a little bit of a take on that pyramid there that could give him a runaway for the Heisman Trophy. I mean, you got Deion Sanders, promoting him. You got all kinds of stuff going on. He's been in the media. He's been attached to Deion Sanders since Deion Sanders coming into college football. I mean, Travis Hunter has been that recruit that has been there, and it's like a Deion second, third son to him. So, but I mean, Austin Gente, you can't prefer what he has done this year. He has 344 carries for 2,497 yards, 29 touchdowns, and average 7.3 a carry. And last night when Boise beat UNLV, that was the thing there. He had, 209 yards rushing, 32 attempts, 1 touchdown. He averaged 6.5 against UNLV, which Boise State won 21-7. They're 12-1. They've been in the talks in the college playoffs the whole season. So that's a little bit of things here. And let's further ado, the man with all the hairstyles in the world that he's got the hat on. He's a Gator fan to the day he dies. He's a Bronco fan to the day he dies. He's from Who's to Blame podcast. My man, the myth, the legend, the Navy. Could be a Navy fighter pilot. Who knows? He knows what he could do. He could do all kinds of stuff. Ray Montez. Welcome to the show.
Man?
What's up, man? How you doing today?
Better than good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. We're talking about the Heisman Trophy there. I'm talking about Austin Gente, his performance this year. Travis Hunter are my top 2 of my list there.
Okay.
But a little bit of a tip for Travis Hunter because he plays 2 positions. That comes in a little bit of a factor there that over Austin Gente, but you can't take away from what Austin Gente has done this year. He has over 2,000. He has over 2,497 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7.3 out of 344 carries. So on the Heisman talk, do you think Travis Hunter is going to run away with this Heisman Trophy win?
I don't think he's going to run away with it because we had a few people already discussing, that snaps doesn't matter in the Heisman criteria. The fact he's playing defense and offensive receiver, he's done an exceptional job on both sides. I mean, let's face it, we have been wanting a two-way person since Charles Woodson. We have been thriving for this, but they always have that hiccup in November or around the championship game where the numbers don't add up to what the person has been doing throughout the whole year. But I think this right here may be the closest Heisman Trophy situation with the kid from Boise State and Travis Hunter being in there.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think this is there. I mean, you got some top 4 really good candidates in Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Austin Gente, and Travis Hunter, all who had great seasons this year.
Right.
But if you look at the Heisman Trophy, it's supposed to be to the best player in college football, but it also could be the best player of his team too. But if Austin Gente didn't have a season when he had, Boise State wouldn't be where they at right now. and being the
That's true.
talks going into the college playoffs.
That's true.
So,
I can agree with that.
and then also you could make a statement with Hunter, but Hunter also got Shedeur Sanders and all that other stuff going on with him too on that thing. I mean, but he is the best player on Colorado. My thing. So you got that top 2 tier going to play a thing, but it's all going to be about who's voting for who and who has seen the most out of Austin Jenny, because he has not been on TV as more as Colorado Buffalo, and Colorado Buffalo has been on the news radar since Deion Sanders got there last year. So
I think last night was probably the earliest game that anyone has had a chance to watch Boise State play before 9 a.m., but 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm thinking probably a good portion of the people who only saw highlights of Boise State had a chance to see them play last night.
Yeah, I mean, last night he had 209 yards, 32 attempts, 1 rushing touchdown, 6.5 carries. I mean, that's not shabby in a football game there.
No, not at all. You know, his cutback game kind of reminds me of Dave Meggett and a little bit of Joe Morris, just a little bit. He has the intangibles of both of them. But I like his downfield vision and his footwork. I would be really impressed to see what type of if he played soccer as a kid, because his footwork is just impeccable to me.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be the first time a great player has played soccer. Look at Olajuwon in the NBA.
Footwork matters.
He started out playing soccer.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can look at that. You can look at Duncan. Duncan didn't play basketball until he came over to the States. I mean, he was a swimmer.
Yeah. You can tell by them fingers and them foots.
Yeah. So I mean, you got a lot of things that could tell into an athlete to make him where he is today in the college football game. So, who is your pick for this year's Heisman Trophy?
I'm going to go with Travis Hunter. I'm going with him because I wanted Ward to win it, but the last 2 games that Miami played, it looked like they were pulling the LeBron James. They were stacking the stats, but there was really the defense wasn't in on it. The defense lost Cam Ward the Heisman Trophy. The defense, they let him down. So I'm not taking the lineman out to dinner. I'm not buying nobody no turnover chain. Y'all all get something for 5 and below at the U.
Yeah, I mean,
because they had for 2 weeks in a row, they could have been not in the same conversation as the 90s U and the 2000s U. No disrespect to nobody. That is, no team can replicate that team what the U did. But it was fun seeing the fan base coming back around you to rally around a transfer portal quarterback coming from Oregon and just coming right into that offensive scheme and just feeling like he's been there the past 3 or 4 years. But I'm going with Travis Hunter on this. He's a difference maker.
Yep.
You can't throw the ball to his side. You can't even throw it in that hubble where he's at because he has a detection to go find the ball. He doesn't hit as hard as Sean Taylor, may he rest. But when it comes to ball awareness, he has a rare skill to going after the ball. And then most players on the defensive end, they have bad hands. You know, your best corners and safeties can't catch a damn cold naked outside in the water in Alaska at nighttime. But he has hands. He can catch the ball, and he can go down the field. So you're looking at a possible pick 6. But he shows me a little bit of traits of Sean Taylor, not far as the hitting mentality, but the football skill set is what I'm really, really digging off of him. So give me Travis Hunter. Not a bad ordeal by the kid out of Boise State. You know, if running backs still were a thing on Sundays, that kid could have a very, very impactful first 2 years in NFL. But I think he's definitely going to be a second-round draft pick and possibly be a household name or a hometown favorite wherever he goes on Sundays. But I'm going with Travis. How about you?
Yeah, I got Travis Hunter too, but I don't think it's a big landslide of what people are going to think about. But then it could be because the way the Colorado team has been in the news from day one since Deion Sanders arrived at Colorado. So, I mean, they've been on the news. They've been on the radar. And I think they got a lot more publicity into Travis Hunter than they do with Boise State and Austin Genties. I mean, you can't even take away from what the kid has done. I mean, unbelievable. 2,400 some yards, you know, in the college football game with 29 touchdowns. And I mean, the kid doesn't even fumble the ball that many times. So I mean, you got to take away from what he has done all season long in that showing. So I mean, that's a little bit of thing that we got to look at there too. But I think what gives Trevor Hunter the advantage is what you said. He takes away half the football field. You can't throw to his side. You can't. He's a shutdown corner. On offense, he makes unbelievable catches after unbelievable catches. I mean, some of the catches he made that last week was him falling to the ground making a catch.
I
Off
don't know who
balance,
it was.
jumping up, high pointing.
Right. I don't know who it was, but someone showed a video. In the video play on the defense, they don't even highlight Travis until after the play. They said, just look at what he's doing. He was way in the back. Ball was nowhere near his side of the field. Even though the receiver caught the ball, completed pass, he didn't even get 3 yards. He didn't even get 3 yards. Travis came that far and almost had a pick. Almost. So he's very aware of the schemes that he can see. I don't know if he came in like that. I can't remember the high school he went to. I remember the video footage he was in high school. But, man, that kid he is special to watch. He really is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that you gotta love about Travis Hunter is that he does some amazing stuff you see on the field, some eye candy, some highlight plays. I mean, he is like the total package, and I think that's why he gets my nod into Heisman Trophy because he does stuff that you don't think a player can do, and play so many snaps too. In a college football, I mean, the dude is well conditioned because he has to be. He plays in the Mile High State, up in Colorado, which is Mile High, and the air is thin. He's playing both ways.
Yeah, that's no easy feat.
I mean, you got to take it out to the kid. So, let's get into today's action. At 12 o'clock on ABC, we have number 16, Iowa State, who's 10-2. Number 15, Arizona State, who's 10-2 in the Dr. Pepper Big Ten Championship. People didn't believe that Iowa State or Arizona State will be in this prediction in this game here, and a chance the winner goes into the college playoff because of winning that conference. Right. So this is a big step up for Dillingham and Arizona State, where they have been in the last few years, and then Iowa State is coming up into the football rankings a little bit here. And today, this is played at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. What is your take on these two teams today?
As for what's the matchup one more time?
Number 16, Iowa State, 10-2 against number 15, Arizona State, 10-2 in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game.
See, for some reason, I don't know why I'm getting the feeling that Vegas knows something I don't know. Why is everybody all of a sudden pulling for Iowa State right now? Did I miss something? I mean, Arizona State did not get in here by accident. So I hate when these type of games are being played on us, so they're taking us for granted. Because I think it's a pretty even matchup. Pretty even kill game. I think whoever can capitalize off the mistakes is going to win this game. Is that a turnover? Is that going for it on fourth down? Is it, God forbid, don't let a kicker come in here and ruin our Saturday, Daddy? Please don't do that. But what's it going to take for them to actually come out on top of this? So that's what I'm looking at because I actually think Arizona State is going to win this game. Now, does Iowa State have something surprising on the table that I probably forgot about? Well, show me. Show me what I'm missing.
But if you look at Arizona State and you look at Iowa State, I mean, the matchup predictors only got a 10% difference between 55% says Iowa State, 45% says Arizona State in this ball game. And what you said, the team looks familiar in the thing, but you got Beck, who's the quarterback for Iowa State, who's 228 out of 385 passing attempts for 3,021 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But if you look at Levitt over there for Arizona State, he's 180 out of 287 for 2,444 yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But what gives Arizona State advantage is Scatbo, the running back. He has 247 carries, 1,398 yards, and 17 touchdowns to go in against Hanson, who is the Iowa State leading rusher with 125 carries for 618 yards and 11 touchdowns. But then if you go back to the receiving core, they got a kid over there in Arizona State named Tyson, who has 75 receptions, 1,101 yards, and 10 touchdowns. But if you look at Iowa State's top receiver, he's got 80 receptions for 1,068 yards and 9 touchdowns. So they're pretty much even if you look at the leaders of their team on the makeup. But what gives most people a thing is that defensive side for Iowa State, who has been playing very well the last few games there on this run that they have. I mean, Iowa State coming in, they're 3-2 out of the last 5 games, but the last 3 games they've been playing pretty good. I mean, Utah did get 28 points against them with 30. They won 31-28. Kansas State they won 29-21. So they've been giving up some points, but they are outscoring with their offensive side. But if you look at Arizona State's last 5, they're 24-4. They're 5-0 in the last 5 games. And I mean, they scored 42-21 against Oklahoma State, 35-31 against UCF, 24-14 against K-State, BYU 28-3, and then they slacked Arizona 49-7. So if you look at that last 5 games for Arizona State there.
What's interesting about those 5 games you mentioned right there for Arizona State matchup is the fact those were some pretty high-powered offensive teams they were coming up against. Now, maybe they're on decline. We know what's going on at University of Central Florida. We understand that. But Kansas, to me, was even killed all year. In Oklahoma State, that's another horror story. That's why I'm saying I like this matchup. But overnight, it seems it shifted with more of the fan bases coming out for the Cyclones, that being Iowa State. And that's what I'm saying. Did I miss something here, Ray? Did I miss something? What transpired this week that all of a sudden Iowa State has a bigger upper hand in the hopes of beating Arizona State?
Now, that could be the team, Arizona State. You know, the last couple of years, Arizona State has been down. They've been building themselves up. And Dillingham has done a good job for that. I think that was a great hire when they hired him for all the fiascos and all the stuff that I think unceremoniously they did to Herman Edwards on that, how they got rid of him and stuff like that. But I think Dillingham has stepped in, revitalized this team, has revitalized some of their fan base. But then again, you got to look at Iowa State, who's been on an even keel here the last few years. But like you said, there's something there that we cannot put I can't put my hands on it. Why the fan bases are leaning more towards Iowa State? Is it because they pretty much history they have gone up a little bit? Could be the coach they have. It could be some of their fan base. It could be teams that don't want to see Arizona State into the college playoffs.
Love that too.
You know,
I mean, it could be a horrible situation, all these different scenarios that could take place throughout the day, and consider what happened last week. And there's no telling what the committee is going to do tomorrow. But I'm taking Arizona State in this matchup. Again, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I don't want it to come down to the kickers because we all know how I feel about kickers. I'd rather come down to bad clock management than putting a kicker on the field. Now, if you're one of them kids that made a 56-yard field goal last week, okay, I feel you. But give me Arizona State. Who you got?
I'm going to take Arizona State because I have a feeling that Arizona State and Dillingham, I mean, I like Dillingham as a play call. I like Dillingham as a coach. I think he has more perspective. I think his kids have really took on to his teaching this year. I think you've seen that in his play calling. You've seen that in the field. I think they come in here with more confidence than Arizona State has in the last few games there. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a thing, a knowledge, a nuance. This is a different level for both teams, really, because they're playing in a championship game. And this has got a lot of pressure on both teams because this game is putting you into the automatic bid into the college playoffs.
Who you think the pressure's on more, Iowa State or Arizona State? Who's up under more pressure and scrutiny right now?
I think Iowa State will be, because that coach has been there longer, and he's been talking to junk way too long about how his team should be, where they should be. I think that a lot of pressure is on them. I think Arizona State is going to play with a little bit of pressure because it's their first championship game in the first quarter. But you could tell with this game how this game is going to progress and how they come out to play in that first 2 quarters. I mean, is the pressure going to be on Iowa State?
I think with Arizona State, considering what they've been through the past 4 years, to turn this program around to where it's at right now, to be in a championship formation on Saturday, speaks volumes. That speaks up that people are willing to buy into the program and they're willing to hang around and bring more kids into the program, because I heard they even shifted a few players to come their way to be a Sun Devil. But I'm going to watch this entire game because I want to see, is there something that was like, oh, I forgot about that? Is somebody come back that was hurt early in the year that's a highly contributed to Iowa State's offensive defense? I'm wondering, could that been the situation? Is somebody coming back? Because we know early in the year we had a lot of major injuries in college football. The first 4 weeks, a lot of people were not in shape as we wanted them to be.
Well, this is one thing that some of the ESPN write up has said about it. And the key matchup is Arizona running back Cam Scatbo versus Iowa State's defense. Scatbo has rushed for 1,397 yards, touches 17 touchdowns, ranks third in the Big 12, eighth nationally with 127.1 yards rushing per game. But he's the only 1,000-yard rusher in the FBS who has 400 yards receiving, 468 with his 1,866 yards from scrimmage are 40 short of setting a single season school record. The Cyclones have one of the league's best overall defense, but ranked 14th, allowing 173.7 yards rushing per game. So that's a little bit of the thing. And another key player to watch is safety Exxon Alford for Arizona State has only allowed 7 receptions for 76 yards while playing 424 snaps in coverage this season. But then you talking about Iowa State. Iowa State, Jay Higgins and Jalen Noel are the first set of Cyclones wide receiver. Both have 1,000 yards in the same season, and the only receiving pair in the country to do that this season. Higgins has 80 catches for 1,068 yards and 9 touchdowns. Noel has caught 67 passes for 1,013 yards and 6 scores. So there you go. That's a little bit of the thing, and I think that's what they get Iowa State a little bit of advantage there, a little bit more play because their 2 wide receivers are over 1,000 yards receiving.
Well, I think that at secondary with Arizona State could possibly match up. The good matchup right there, the receiving core and their defensive secondary with Arizona State. So unless they're going to leave it in the trenches between the front line and the defensive line, we will see from that.
Yeah, if you're looking at between the trenches, I think Scatbo for Arizona State has got the advantage. I think Arizona State has got the advantage of running the ball. And if they do that, if they run the ball effectively and win the time in possession, keep that high power Cyclones offense and the 2 1,000 yards receivers off the field, then that could be a game plan that Arizona comes out with. But we know Dillingham likes to throw the ball all over the place too and run the ball. He's got that Oregon offense over there playing well at Arizona State.
Yeah, they both got a pretty interesting offensive scheme coming in. There's no telling what you're going to see from the different routes to the different play callers and the hot reads that they possibly can see. So it's going to be an interesting game.
We both got Arizona State in this one. They got the 15th seed beating the 15th ranked being the 16th ranked. Arizona State will go, if they do win, they will go into the drawing of the college playoffs. So that's a big step for Arizona State and Iowa State in this ball game, and some big keys in this game going on forward here. Coming at 4 o'clock on ABC, number 5 Georgia versus number 2 Texas. A rematch from earlier this season where Georgia came back and won in Austin, Texas against Texas. Do we see a different game here? Do we see the same fight between both teams? This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out game, and our both teams secured getting into the college playoff. Don't matter who wins this ball game.
Well, that first matchup was October 19th, and that game was in Texas. And Georgia came out of that game, out of the gate, with let's beat them down right away. I mean, it was 20-0 going into halftime. Georgia did not mess around. I believe they forced 5 turnovers, had 6 sacks, I do believe. So the quarterback situation, they got to figure that out at Texas. What they're going to do, they're going to play the two-headed monster, or we're going to ride this wave until the wheels fall off. If it's that bad, then we'll make the switch and put old Manning in the game. But if Georgia plays this game the way they did October 19th, Texas will not survive this. It will get worse. Because to me, they let up. And if the ref would have let that scoop and score count, it probably would have been 44-15 as the final score. Because one of the touchdowns they called back, and another one, they said the whistle blew. That whistle did not blow. So to me, they took away 14 points away from Georgia in that game, but Georgia dominated that whole game. The score did not dictate what happened in that game. 30-15, it was much worse than that. Texas played an awful, awful game. And the coach, Steve Sarkisian, he actually even said he did not have his guys up and ready. At some point when teams use that type of mindset and philosophy, we weren't ready. Who's responsible to get you hyped and up and ready for the game? All week we've been working on this scheme and this game plan. Now it comes game time and you guys not up and ready to play. That is one thing I've always had trouble with when people say that we just weren't up and ready. What must you do to get up and ready? They got strength and conditioner coach that get it in your face like an 80s aerobics instructor. So what's lacking with the motivational set when it comes to these pivotal games on a collegiate level when they use that phrase or that type of mindset? Well, we just weren't ready. Help me understand when people say that. We just were not ready for that game. You prepared all week for one team. The whole week you're preparing for one team. And you get to play this team and you're not ready. The very first two possessions of that Georgia-Texas game, October 19th, the momentum, Texas did. The fans were more into the game than Texas players were, and that's sad. That's sad. So I'm going to really look at the body language, the intensity, the coaches. I want to see mouths moving. I want to see people in faces. If Georgia's up 13-0 in the first quarter, it better be some headsets thrown on the ground or some furniture moving over there. That's what I want to see. But I think Georgia going to get them again.
And I look at it this way here, too. And you talking about teams not up and ready to play. How can't you not be up and ready to play Georgia?
Bingo.
Georgia's got the pedigree. Kirby Smart has made this team. The analysis talking about Georgia the whole entire time. Is this the next Alabama dynasty? Is this the next dynasty in Georgia? Is this the next thing? Texas comes into the SEC for the first time. Playing against the Georgia Bulldogs. You want to show your dominance and to them, and you let Georgia come back and win that game in your home stadium.
Fire them up, Ray. Fire them up. There you go.
So you can't tell me your team is not up and ready to play. You have to be ready up and play. You're playing in the SEC. You're playing in the big boy league that people are out here saying. The SEC is supposed to be the big boy league. So you can't tell me the BS that your team was not ready to play this game. You just got outplayed, outcoached, outsmarted. And you let Carson Beck come back and take your team and take a Georgia team that he's been interception prone all season, turning the ball over, come back and win this ball game for Georgia. Dude, there's a lot of things going on here. Texas, the last few games, their defense has been playing a little bit stagnant, but Wisner has stepped up at the running back position. They should have the advantage of running the football today against the Georgia defense that has not really stopped anybody in the rushing game all season long.
Right. But on the other side, you got to stop Georgia's run game. You got to stop Georgia's defense because them defensive tackles are hungry. Them defensive tackles have the speed and agility of a linebacker. So that's what they got to watch out for right there. I don't know how many stunts, how many trick plays he's going to move around, but I think Texas need to move people. They need a whole lot of motion plays. They need to keep the people moving, keep the defense on their toes. Throw one way, go the other way. They need to do that type of football against Georgia because that last game, anything they thought about doing, Georgia was there, especially those first two possessions. They set the tone right there, fact and early. And Mr. Carson Beck let it slip out that he doesn't like football. He's a quarterback.
And if you look at this,
he doesn't like watching games.
If you look at the last game of Georgia, the one key fact that really hurt the Georgia defense was King, the running back, the quarterback that ran the football down Georgia's throat against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech showed a blueprint that Georgia cannot really handle a mobile quarterback. So now you look at it, what you got to do here. But the Texas quarterback is hurt, limping out there playing hurt. He can't run the football. So if you see what King has done and what they did in the two quarterback system that Georgia Tech did to Georgia, will we see Archie Manning come in this ball game and provide a spark because he is still mobile? He can run the football and pass the football. That could give Georgia's defense a lot of pressure. But did Georgia's defense learn what the mistake was against Georgia Tech and correct it? Because, Texas probably looked at the game film and probably had some plays designed for Archie Manning to come in here and run the football a little bit at the quarterback position.
the thing that scares me about quarterbacks that run against Bama and Georgia, it doesn't always end well. We saw what happened earlier this year to Wisconsin quarterback trying to run on Bama. Didn't go well. Didn't go well. And if you think a defense already knows their pros and cons, what they're good at, what they're bad at. The defense knows that collectively. The individual players know, hey, we're not too good in this scheme. When we see that type of offense come out here, we got to be on our toes and be ready for that. And if you frustrate the defense enough, one of those hits could mess up next year for Texas. So I don't want to be so quick to jump, hey, put Arch Manning in the game. Let's let the game dictate itself. That game, October 19th, that was a different team on both sides. Georgia was totally different. They only had one loss coming in there. Texas was undefeated when they had that matchup. So these are two different teams right now. Same team, schools, and all of that. But the mentality, to me, has changed based on what has transpired throughout the regular season in college football.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, I mean, you got Wisner, who's the leading rusher for Texas with 157 carries, 812 yards, 3 touchdowns. But you got to watch out for Blue too. He's a good running back too. They have a dual running back position there. Frazier, who's 123 carries, 587 yards, 8 touchdowns. The freshman is leading the Bulldogs in rushing. But Carson Beck is 283 out of 435 for 3,429 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And Quentin Ewers is 206 out of 306 for 2,307 yards, 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but has missed some time playing this year. That's why his numbers are a little bit down. But you got 2 receiving core, and Smith, who's the leading Georgia receiver, with 42 receptions, 709 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The Hams, 48 receptions, 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, they really do both teams really do concentrate on the running game. But the interesting thing here, the matchup predictor on ESPN has got 61.7% in favor of Texas to 38.3% favor of Georgia. So is that surprising?
That's very surprising. That is very surprising. I don't think whoever put those statistics up there, those numbers, that configuration, obviously did not watch that game October 19th. Obviously. That there's no way I can change the numbers that high. I mean, let's not forget what Georgia can do in the backfield. Georgia can run the ball. They are running back you for a reason. They have locked up the running back position in the Southeastern Conference, I think, the next 5 to 6 years. What they have there now and what's on the bench waiting to play next year and what's coming in. They got some dogs back there, literally. They just need to tighten it up on defense. Tighten it up on defense a little bit more. And I think then it won't negate the losses that they had this year, but it gives a little bit respect on the chest for Kirby Smart in this situation down in Georgia.
I mean, you got to look at that too. I mean, if you look at it, both teams are going to be in the college playoffs because of the pedigree of Georgia and Texas, what they've done this year. I don't think this game is not going to block either or out, but it's just going to play for the seeding wise between the two teams. Mm-hmm. But if you look at this thing too, you got a turnover machine in Carson Beck. You got to put the 8-man front, stop the Georgia running attack, make Carson Beck beat you, and see if he throws some picks your way to turn into touchdowns, pick 6. That's what Texas got to look at. That's what Texas defense has got to look at. This is where Sarkisian's got to look at. This game right here is going to tell if Sarkisian is the coach for Texas because he's got to win the big one. This is a big game for Texas. This is a championship game. Win the SEC for the first time. And, you're playing in the conference for the first time and you actually won the SEC championship against a team that's already been established in the SEC for the longest time. And Georgia's been up there in the SEC pedigree the last few years. So that's another little thing, stepping stone here. But we know what happened to Georgia when they lose the SEC championship game. They play more tougher in the national championship picture. So that's going to give a little bit of tell here too. So which team you think really has got the advantage and what team you really think is going to come out? You think Georgia's going to win this game like they did against Texas and on October 19th, or are we going to see a different Texas team?
I think we're going to see a different matchup. I think Texas could possibly come out a little bit more aggressive on this side of the ball. Carson Beck did not have gray hair on the side of his hair like he does now. So that lets you know the stress factor is real. He had a whole complete full head of black hair October 19th. But now he got the great tips on both sides. It is a stressful position. And the microscope is on him on when and when not to throw that ball, because he does have that turnover machine, but he's no pick six machine. But I'm giving Uga the advantage point in this game based on the fact that they hit Texas in the mouth the last time, and Texas did not respond in social media, in the classroom, in practice. The following week, they have not shown back that they can bounce back from being beat and embarrassed by Georgia at home. Man, mind you, that game happened in Texas. So I'm going with Uga on this one. Not a beatdown, but give me a 10-point Vic. Give me a 10-point push, right? Give me the push of 10.
Yeah, if you look at it, Texas is favored by 3. Georgia comes in a 3-point underdog. The over and under is at 50 points in this ball game. So it's going to be a competitive game. But also reports has came out that Arthur Blank, the Atlanta Falcons owner, has come out and said that Texas cannot bring Bevo with them to this game today.
Oh, my God. You know, when people that's that clickbait crap I'm talking about. That's part of the tradition of the team. I tell you what, when Georgia go on the road next year, keep that damn Bulldog at home. How about that? Keep the Bulldog at home. Keep it at home. Matter of fact, when we play them next year in Florida, Georgia, the Bulldog not allowed. We're going to bring a live crocodile, a live alligator. We're bringing a live alligator. The big one down there, everybody keep feeding. We're going to bring them on out the water then. What does that have to do
if you look
with
at
Martha Blank?
And if you look at what's going to transpire, why you brought that game up real quick, what's going to transpire in the next couple of years here, and in Jacksonville itself, the state project has been approved by the NFL owners, all 32 approved. They started the process. They started the process this summer in 2025. They're going to start working on the foundation of the new stadium. Jacksonville will play here. Florida Georgia game will be here in 2025. 2026, the games will be here. But in 2027, will they shift the game to the Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta for that one season? Or do they play it at one of at either Florida? Because Florida will be the home team this coming up year. I think, they will be the home team this coming up year. Will they play it at the Swamp? So that's going to be a question in 2027, because in 2028, the new stadium will be open and running. So they only have that 1 year that they got to decide where they're going to play that game at. Will they play it at Florida, or will they play it at the Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta? So that's a little bit of the tidbit there that's going to come up in the next couple of years here in Jacksonville itself. That's they building the new stadium with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay. So I want to get that little tidbit out of the way. To me personally, I think Texas is a little bit better team than Georgia right now at the quarterback position. I think if they can't get the Ewers or whoever at the quarterback position for Texas, I think it could be a long day. Because if you get the Ewers has a fumble problem. The blind side hits, he has a fumble problem. He can turn the ball over on fumbles, getting sacked. We know how Georgia's defense is, like getting to the quarterback. If they can get the Ewers to have the advantage, I think it's going to be a little closer game. I think the 3 points, but I got Georgia winning by 3 points in this ball game.
So we both got the same 2 picks so far. We both got Arizona State. We both got Georgia.
Yeah, Jamal Mill, one of my friends that was stationed with me in the Navy, he says I'm going with Texas and to play the game in Atlanta for the Florida Georgia game there. So that's what he's picking there on that 2 fronts. So,
all right, thanks
for weighing in there, Jamal.
Picks, go Navy.
Yep, all Navy, man. Go Navy. That's gonna be the big topic next week when you join us. Will be the Army Navy game. Will be all about the Army Navy game, and we'll take you some our vantage points when we were in the Navy for during these games time, and how the active duty portion of the Navy and Army active duties went to war. I could tell you a good story because I was at a command that had Army and Navy together. So there we go.
Same
And
here.
yes, the Elrod FFG 55. Yep, that was a ship out of Norfolk right there. Decom now sitting in the great patches of Philadelphia shipyard.
Old
That's the
fast
boy right
frigate,
there.
huh?
We
Old
had some
frigate.
fun on that ship.
Old fast frigate you had, huh?
Yeah, that. But let me tell you a quick story about the XO on this ship here. The XO didn't like me because I put the rules and regulations to him. He didn't like me, so he sent me IA to Afghanistan. So I went to Afghanistan while they went on the 6-month deployment. I wasn't there. But the first class that I was under, he told me about 3 months ago the XO that didn't like me is now kicked out of the Navy for driving drunk onto the pier in Japan with no clothes on.
Oh my God.
So,
oh my God. That's the
what you say,
military.
karma helps.
That's the military for you. We can throw them back though. I tell you that. Military people can drink.
Yeah, we already know. We know Army, Navy, go Navy. No, we know Navy's going to beat the Army this year. Oh, they're bringing the. He's also saying that they are bringing the frigates back. Yeah, because they got to have that ship, the small ship, get in there. The other ships that replaced the frigates in the Navy ain't worth 2 cents. So,
Nope.
yeah, frigate navies are coming back, baby.
That's what's up.
So, all right, let's move right along here. We both got Georgia and us. You got them by 10. I got them by 3. That's a little bit of there. No, it wasn't him. It was the other XO that replaced him. I can't think of his freaking name now. That's how much I dislike that XO. No, Graham was a cool dude, man. We had fun. I had fun with him as XO. So, but no, it was the guy that replaced him that went on the 6-month deployment with the CO there. All right, let's go here. On top of that, the next game is at 8:00 p.m. on CBS. Number 3 Penn State versus number 1 Oregon. This is the game I wanted to see right here this week, is to find out if Penn State is the real deal. They have been up there all season. We know what happened against Ohio State. This is the next big game now. This is the next one right here. The number 1 Oregon versus number 3 Penn State. This is what Ron Franklin really wants right here. This is the game that he really wants to win this ball game, to show that Penn State believes they are back in that top echelon when Joe Paterno was there. What are your key on this ball game for Penn State against the number 1 ranked team, Oregon, who has not been flushed most of the season except against Ohio State?
Ray, I don't know how Penn State got themselves in this situation. This is a matchup that's going to be wild. I understand the conference realignment. I understand the scheduling. It is championship Saturday, but I don't think Penn State want this. Oregon is too fast. I don't think Penn State has the speed on defense to keep up with Oregon. So the only way they can get the advantage point, they got to hit them early. May have to get a couple of roughing the pass, unsportsmanlike conduct, but they got to put their head, they got to tackle some people today. The tackling skills will be on point in this game. But Oregon they're more determined than any team in this playoff scenario out of the 12 teams. I think Oregon has their head on the prize, and that is Phil Knight. Ever since they came out what that man wants and the way that team been balling out this year and the way they have been showing their speed is sick. They're not even running. They're laughing at people. It's like when you're a grown man racing your 5-year-old child. You're not even running, but that kid is running fast as hell, but not catching you. That's how it looked like everybody that is reading the last name on an Oregon player going into the end zone. Now, I could be wrong. Is Penn State saving something for this game? Coach wants this victory more than his players, more than the university. He may get emotional if they win this game to make Joe Paul proud. But at the same time, reality must set in. Reality must set in this situation here. And Oregon has played great football in all aspects of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. And they do a great job of communicating with each other on the field as well as on the sideline. Now, if I can see that disrupted today by Penn State, I will be shocked and amazed. The only way I can see this game being really, really close if weather plays a factor
in. That's a good question. Does weather really play a factor? Ain't gonna play no factor. They're playing the Lucas Oil Stadium. They're gonna shut that roof.
I said the only way. I said the only way. The only way. The only way. That's it. That's the only way.
Yeah, it's gonna be no issue in weather unless they open up the roof. If they open up the roof, then it's gonna be an issue. But if they close that roof, there will be no issue whatsoever. This will be like an AC weather, a little bit of heater on, keeping the players warm. You won't see no overcoats and stuff like that in the stadium because they're probably going to shut the roof.
We hope. We don't hear no problem with the AC. We don't hear none of that. I want no excuses.
There will be no problem with the sun coming in the big window at the end of the football field and one in the end zone because they're playing at 8 o'clock at night. So, I mean, it ain't going to be the sun be going down. So, I mean, that will be no issue there. This is going to be a man versus man football. This is going to be a Russian attack that has to establish Penn State. Penn State has to dominate the running attack. And Singleton is the leading rusher for Penn State with 121 carries, 733 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But you look at the other hand, too. Oregon can run the ball with James, 206 carries for 1,166 yards and 13 touchdowns, and that's speed. He breaks through the line. He gets in that second wave. He's gone. That's no question. That front seven of Penn State will be tested today. It will be tested everywhere on going side to side, vertically down the field, because Oregon still will dominate the throw down the field. They got speedy wide receivers. They got a speedy running back who can throw them to them in space. And if they get that linebacker matchup, that is a mismatch because Penn State linebackers are slow.
That's what I'm saying. For speed agility, if Oregon gets to going left to right, this could be a 56-10 game. Oregon. This could be that situation. The quarterback has a little bit of Cam Ward skill set. He doesn't want to play hard unless he has to. He doesn't want to overdo it, overheat the engine early in the game. He takes what the defense has given him, and if it's not there, he's going to take what he wants. He's going to eat it up like old Pac-Man video game. Waka, waka, waka. I don't see the way this team has been talking in the locker room and with the media, on social media, and knowing the pure determination for this school to be in position to win a national championship. I think the tunnel vision is on. They're keeping their eye on the prize.
Yeah, if you look at certain things too, this matchup predictor once again, it surprised me. 53.5% are favored Penn State. So Oregon's 46.5%.
Who? What?
The matchup predictor. Once again on ESPN, 53.5% are favored Penn State to 46.5% to Oregon.
I don't see how Penn State can. Wow, unless they got a secret weapon. I don't know. Unless James Franklin stole the playbook just like in Waterboy. The playbook, explains. No. If Oregon loses this game, that's it. Phil Knight taking his black card back. Let me get all that. And the uniforms they're wearing today, these are another new uniform concoction they put together just for this game.
Yeah. And if you look at it this way, too, what has been Oregon's downfall the last few years? The November games. They have made it through November scot-free.
The big game. The one that got away. You can't do it next week, but you should get today. It has to be now. Has to be right now. And this is the right now moment for Oregon. It'd be a beautiful story if they are able to complete the fact of winning a national championship in the situation that's going through with Phil Knight and what he said at the beginning of the year and the way this team has been playing. Even they took advantage of the transfer portal, and they got people in there right away that can contribute to the program. That's what you want in the transfer portal. You don't want nobody that's going to sit. None of these kids are transferring to sit. They're transferring to play. If you get to the right scheme that suits you and your attributes and can really let you shine, that's when it works for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it this way here, I mean, a lot of people are going to watch the Penn State-Oregon game vice the Clemson-SMU game. That's going to probably be the highest watch game is the Big Ten championship because they really wanted to see what Oregon can do against a big Penn State defense that is big up front. Can Oregon's offensive line use their speed and get them off the thing, or will Penn State win the line of scrimmage? That's going to be the factor. That's going to be the key of the game. If Penn State can win the line of scrimmage and force pressure on Gabriel, but then again, Gabriel can move around and extend that pocket out, and guess what's going to happen? The speed will take over downfield, and you might see some bomb plays on a broken play.
Touchdown.
That's what Oregon is all about. You mismatch the speed against a defense that are slow at the linebacker position, and if you get James out in that space and the play breaks down and they dump it to him, the linebackers, if they're out of position, that's dangerous. That is dangerous because James can get down the field in a heartbeat. When your corners are running with the wide receiver and they turn around, look back and see James with the ball and they're coming for him and the linebacker's nowhere to be found, that's dangerous.
That's a great point.
That is dangerous. That's going to be the dangers there. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk about the number 17 Clemson, number 8 SMU. I got Oregon winning this ball game, and I got it probably winning big.
I got Oregon winning this game as well. That's my oldest son. That's his squad, so I'm going with Oregon.
Yeah, so we got Oregon here. So when we come back from the break, we'll talk about number 17 Clemson, number 8 SMU, and then later on we will break down our scenarios for the college playoffs based on these games today and our prediction, and see who's going to make our 12-man team. So when we come back on the All Sports All Plays College Breakdown on the All Sports All Plays Network, I'm Ray. That is Dre. We'll be right back after these messages. Here.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. 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 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so type the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Plays Network on the All Sports All Plays College Breakdown. Ray will be right back. He's a little bit away right now. He will be right back here in momentarily. And when I said that, Dre reappears. I must be a magician. He just reappears when I tell him that he will be right back. So there he is. See, I told you I can do abracadabra. There he goes. I'm a great musician there. But anyway, the last game of the day is also at 8 p.m. start. It's 9-3 Clemson Tigers versus 11-1 SMU Mustangs, who has been on top of the world ACC for a while here. 11-1, 9-3. Clemson has to win this game to get into the college playoffs. They lose this game, the 9-4 team will not make the college playoffs. Point is simple. SMU will take that ACC there on that part if they win this ball game. So these are the big games that really matters to Alabama, teams are looking in. This is the game right here. This is one of the scenarios, and the other one was the one at beginning at 12 o'clock. Are taking faces here. That's where they are playing to see if they can get Alabama into the college playoffs scenario. But we will talk about that here momentarily. Let's talk about the ACC. And let's talk about Clemson needs to slow down SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, who has been on fire. His 9th ACC title game to secure a college playoff spot for Clemson. What do we look at Clemson? How does Clemson defense slow down Kevin Jennings in the SMU?
Well, for one, I'm glad Clemson and Dabo came to a realization. Reality set in with us. We're a good team. We're not as good as we thought we were before the season started. Open up with the season loss, and then understanding how tumultuous the season can be when you want to do things your way, i.e. not going inside the transfer portal. I get it. It's worked for some programs this year. I get it. I do get it. But at the same time, Clemson learned how to play football together. It was no more individualism anymore because it was kind of showing phases of that as the weeks went on in the season. You could tell by the frustration with Dabo Swinney, they weren't quite getting what he was trying to put out there. But they put it together. Luck may be the lady in the building there in this situation against SMU. But I think the advantage point that Clemson has in this game is the experience they have offensively. They have some experienced people on the right side of the ball. I mean, defense can pretty much dictate games in the ACC. But Clemson plays a little bit like an SEC team, but they're an ACC team. Just a little bit SEC, little dog, little nastiness in them. But the football IQ has to be on point for Clemson right here. They cannot just get upset and think everything is over with on the first turnover because we know how Dabo feels about that. Now, SMU on the other side, they're coming in with a pretty much hot hand here. They're in an unfamiliar territory right now. So I think the overall view of this thing, Clemson has more to lose in this situation than SMU. But if SMU can hang with Clemson at least into the third quarter, early into the fourth quarter, I think this game could be one of those games where it comes down to, I hate to say it, a field goal. Because the ACC, they believe in field goal kickers for some damn reason. That's what I think Clemson needs to come out. No such thing as clean football. We know penalties going to be called throughout, maybe a little pushing and shoving, a little extra mustard here and there. But to slow down SMU, I wouldn't make that the number one thing to do. Whatever we went over with in practice to prepare for this team and this team only and their key players, let's stick to that. Now, if that's not working, then it's time to go to plan B, another option out there. That's something that we worked on in practice, or probably something earlier this year that we covered that could be used in this game, in this situation. But I would not get too ahead of the curve of outthinking the process and slowing SMU down.
Yeah, I agree with you there on that point too. I agree with a little bit of that scenario there where Clemson has to do that, to play together. They can't break it out, but Klubnik, he struggles when he gets pressure on him. He struggles at breaking that pocket. He don't know when to break the pocket. He doesn't know when to get down the field. He doesn't know when pressure gets to him. Some mental blocks in his hand. So SMU has to get pressure on Klubnik. But then you got to look at the running game for Clemson and Mafia. 201 carry for 1,078 yards and 8 touchdowns. But also on the other side, you got to watch out for Smith, who has 193 carries, 1,157 yards, and 14 touchdowns. But Jenkins is the man that makes that team move. He's 196 out of 294 with 2,746 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. But Klubnik in the last few games has been less turnover prone. He has 258 out of 402 for 3,041 yards, 29 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But also, you got to watch out for Williams, who leads the Tigers in receiving with 66 receptions, 788 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He's the key to get that passing game going. If he gets more than one catch in this ball game, Clemson is tough to beat because he is now getting more coverage got to roll to him. That opens up the running attack in Mafia. That's what Mafia does. Clemson is different this year. They don't set the run game to set the passing game. They set the passing game to set the run game.
Right.
It's a little bit vice versa this year because Antonio Williams is the go guy. He is the guy that has to be more coverage, has to go to his way. If SMU does what I think they're going to do, going to roll coverage to Williams and make somebody else beat them, but then that's going to leave Mafia in that blocking scheme, that zone blocking scheme that Clemson really runs effectively, and Mafia going up the middle because Mafia is a straight down runner. He can't get to the outside, but he is a straight down runner. If you don't pack that lane inside, Mafia will eat your defense alive, and Clemson will go down the field and move the ball. But on the other hand, too, Jenkins is a dual threat. He can pass the ball, he can run the ball. So that's going to be a little bit of a staler there. How does this Clemson defense, did they play the spy game on the quarterback? That takes your linebacker, your middle linebacker, put him as a spy. That takes away a little bit of your zone coverage deep wise in the middle. That can leave the middle wide open for Daniels Jr., who has 30 receptions, 502 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They spread the ball around very much. So that's why you don't see a receiver over 500 some yards with them. So it's a little bit of things that you got to do. It's going to be a chess match first part because we know SMU likes to scribe 15 to 20 plays before they really break down and mix up their plays a little bit. So they have a scripted play that they like to run, at least 15 plays scripted in this ball game today. How does Clemson handle the 15 scripted? Because that's going to base off what SMU does the rest of the game. Do they follow the same script and mix that script up a little bit? Or do they branch out at halftime and come back out with a totally different script? So that's what SMU has done. Only game they really not done this year was to get beat against BYU, who beat them. But in the ACC, they have rolled all over the ACC competition in their first year in the ACC. Even though the ACC has been down according to all the thing, you see what Clemson is doing, 9-3 team going against a 11-1 team, 10-0, 11-0 in the ACC there. So that's a lot of tails for the Tigers and Dabo Swinney. So how effectively, because Weather's going to play a lot because they're playing in Charlotte. There's no dome in Charlotte. It's 38 degrees. Cold weather's going to be in the area. How does SMU handle the cold weather? Because we know Clemson can handle it because Clemson's up in the mountain areas of South Carolina. So,
well, anytime that Clemson's had a problem this year, to me, they went off script. They didn't stay within the game plan. They did things that they were not supposed to do, and Dabo tells you each and every time walking off the field on his press conference. But if they can stay, whatever the 15 plays they have drawn off SMU, based on what Clemson can do defensively and what they have on the defense, and probably what they worked on this week in practice, I think they're ready for that. The thing is what Clemson needs to concentrate on, offensive mistakes. Putting points on the board when you should put points on the board. If we're going to gamble, Dabo Swinney, make the gamble worth our while. Don't put the defense in harm's way because you get a little excited what the offense has been doing and you become a little stagnant. And now you're looking at field position. Now we're looking at time of possession. We're looking at those little bitty things that matter in a football victory in a game of this magnitude, being the ACC championship. And the fact that it's being played in Charlotte, shout out to the 704. I like it. I like that stadium, like the atmosphere, whole nine. But I would not get too caught up on trying to put SMU in a one-dimensional box. Hey, we got to stop the quarterback. There are other players and other aspects of this game you got to pay attention to because you keep paying attention to just that portion of the game. Next thing you know, you got a running back out here running up for 275 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, if you look at it too, crowd-wise, Clemson's going to have the most people in the stands because they're only 80 miles from Charlotte. Even though both teams got the same amount of tickets, that distribution out to their fans, supposed to be a neutral site game. But we know if SMU does not buy those tickets out and they start, hits their third market team, Clemson is going to be out manning them in the crowd aspect. So this could be literally a home game for Clemson and a home field advantage, really, because they play a lot more times in the Bank of America Stadium than the SMU Mustang has. So they know the dimension of the stadium. They know the dimension of the field. They know how the crowd's going to affect what things. How does the play calling and the snap count really are going to affect SMU's defense if Clemson gets that home field advantage with all that crowd noise in? And it's not going to be piped in. This is the actual crowd noise that Clemson will bring with them.
I don't think it's going to be anything closely, remotely like playing in Clemson for a home game. I don't think the crowd noise in Carolina is going to be that. This is not that big of a matchup for Clemson for the crowd to be that effective. I don't see that being an issue at all. Maybe nerves of SMU being in this position, being on this stage, playing Clemson, but I don't think the crowd factor is going to be that big of an ordeal. Now, if they were playing in Death Valley, now, okay, that's a different scenario, different situation. That's a whole nother animal. But being at a neutral site, I like the neutral site idea for some schools and universities. The fact it gives fans a chance to go see their team perform in a championship platform. I like that aspect of it. And I like the fact that it takes away from the whole field advantage, so to speak. Yeah, they're 80 miles away, but they're not at home. They're not at home. So I don't think the crowd's going to be in there. I think more than anything, the moment Clemson goes off script of doing things that is not Clemson-style football, that's when SMU is going to attack right there. They're going to attack right there. You get in that water with blood dripping, here we come.
Yeah. Today would be today football games and championship bowl games, conference games came in on the right day because today is the remembrance of D-Day, Pearl Harbor, December 7th. The remembrance of that day. This is what it's called, D-Day. A lot of teams is going to be in or out of this college playoffs. I have Clemson actually winning this ball game, and I have it winning by the field goal kicker. Oh,
damn. Well, teams that use the kicker, that have a nice soccer program, I don't get mad because they're going to find a kicker. They're going to find a kicker. Clemson got a great soccer team. They got a kicker. I get that. I do. But these teams that, what are you doing kicking the ball? Go for it. That's when I get a little upset. You know, you haven't kicked the damn ball all year. Now you want to put Todd in the game. Todd just started dating Emily last week. He's already nervous, and they're going to put him in that position? No.
Well, Devo's got to win at any cost. And if it comes to a field goal kicker, he's going to put that field goal kicker out there for that win. So,
Dabo Swinney.
Playing winning football. You got to have the kicker to play winning football sometimes. And it comes down to them field goal kickers.
Little luck, little skill set. You never know what could happen. Hip, hip, hooray.
Yeah, unless they fumble a snap and it turns into a touchdown. But, yeah. So I got Clemson. You got Clemson winning this game, or you got SMU winning this game?
Dabo.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about the favorite thing of the day here is the college football playoffs, the 12-team playoffs. A lot of people think Alabama's going to get in at the 9-3 position. A lot of people think Miami might get in. What team out of this bowl game, out of the conference championship, what teams will allow Alabama or Miami back into this playoffs? Will they kick out SMU if Clemson win? Will they kick out Iowa State? We know Iowa State probably get kicked out if they lose that game today. So where do you see the picture of Alabama and Miami jumping back into the college playoffs?
I can't. They were talking about this with the committee all week on the different scenarios on all these teams that are in the conference championship. They got to make it make sense. We understand what Alabama did or did not do to get in this situation, losing a team with a 6-6 record. When did they lose? Miami, the way they lost. South Carolina, what really happened? Those teams right there in a position, in a scenario to be in the conversation of, hey, why not us? Why not us? And the way I can see it happening today, if Clemson shuts out SMU, Georgia beats the living snot out of Texas. I'm talking undescribable type of beating. Not just on the board, but on the field. They just whipped him. If those two games end up like that, they're going to open up the door. They're going to have the old automatic door where you just walk on that little piece of carpet right there, that mat, and the doors open up. That's what's going to happen for Bama. And a lot of people mad, why not Bama? Why this? They lost 3 games. This isn't fair. Who you want in there? You want Hawaii? Miami? South Carolina? I think South Carolina should get more of a nod and a look, especially the way they finished out the year. the way they finished, they were in every single game this year. They were not blown out once this year. I do not believe so. Not blown out at all. But Bama was blown the hell out. Blown out. They put up 3 points. When have you known in your lifetime, since you've been on this earth, not earth, but earth, since you've been here, and you understand dotting the I's and crossing the T's of football, you've known a Bama team to get beat and exposed like that. When?
Yeah, but Bama also has what I consider a bad loss. Most people think because it's an SEC loss. They lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. And we know Vandy's on the rise, but not now on the rise. And at that point, two different things. Two different things. Vandy's not there. They're nowhere there. Nowhere in the Jay Cutler days. No. But they're showing a little highlight. They're showing a little bit of effort in the recruiting, the play calling, the actual play itself. That's a different football team than the past 2 years at Vandy. So thank you to the people down in Nash Vegas for doing that. But at the same time, you are right. We do look at interconference games a little different, depending if you're from one of those conferences where everybody in there got a little dog in them. And that's the SEC. That's why it get labeled that way. That's why teams get talked about that way that come from the SEC and go to a bowl game and don't do any damn thing when they have a matchup against a non-SEC team. But could have the same type of discussion or argument. Why don't we have more SEC teams on our schedule? It goes vice versa. Anytime an SEC team is in a situation where it brings up chatter from both sides, it brings up a great debate. A 3-loss team in this situation, I do believe in week 0 we had the show. I said to you, this new format, I would not be surprised or amazed if a 3-loss team makes it in this playoff format. And I said, I guarantee you, I think it will come from the SEC.
Yeah.
It's but because of the schedule.
Yeah, if you look at this is a lot of ifs and buts in these scenarios. You got the number one team is overall is Oregon, undisputable. Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Georgia rounds out the top 5. Number 6 through number 10 is Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, Boise State, and then Alabama comes in at number 11, and number 12 is Miami, and number 13 is Ole Miss. But if you look at the situation here, Boise State won, so they secure their spot. If SMU wins, they secure their spot. If SMU loses, Clemson claims that spot. And that part knocks SMU out. So Clemson they'll gain 9 spots from where they're ranked right now. They're ranked 17th in the college playoff picture right now. But when they win the ACC, that will jump them up into the playoffs because they're a conference champion. Conference champion automatically gets a bid. Okay, that leaves SMU at an large, which will be their second loss. Well, you still got Indiana. Only one loss to Indiana got blown out by Ohio State. They're 11-1. They don't play. So they're pretty much safe at the 9 spot. Only way Alabama could get in if they go up to say Penn State, your loss to Oregon, you get blown out, your loss is so worse, we're going to take you out at 11-2, and we're going to replace you with Alabama and put Alabama down at the bottom.
I mean, we know the format was not this way last year. But when you lose in your conference championship, no matter what it is, some people think it's wrong, some people think it was right. When UGA didn't make it, when they lost an SEC championship game, that kind of ruffled some feathers the wrong way, but it still worked out its scenario. Now, with this 12-team format, the first year having it, we're not going to get it right. There's going to be some mistakes had. Just think how far we've come. If we were still using the old formula, it would be the top 4 teams. And who wants to see that? Who wants to see that? I don't want to see them 4 teams. No. I think we can't let the Alabama conversation ruin a great football regular season and ruin the fact that we now have a 12-team college football playoff format. We can't let that happen. If anything goes crazy, then let's say all the favorites lose, meaning let Oregon lose. Let SMU lose.
Okay.
Who else we got in there? Let Arizona State lose.
But see, if SMU loses, this is a situation. If SMU loses, Clemson jumps in that spot.
Right.
I mean, the ACC is not going to be the cause of letting Alabama in.
No.
Boise State is not going to be the cause of letting Alabama in. Only way Alabama's going to get in if they decide to say Indiana or Penn State loses. But then again, how does 11-2 team, Penn State makes it to the conference championship, and Alabama didn't make it to the conference championship, 9-3 team jump over a 11-2 team?
So that's another thing. How are you jumping teams you didn't even make it to your conference championship, and the fact you have 3 losses? But everybody knows why Bama's in the conversation. Everybody knows why they're causing all these water cooler conversations and barbershop discussion. It's about the MONEY. They can draw. They're the big deal. They are the big ordeal. New head coach or not, Bama still has that fan base, what college football wants, what college football loves. Not saying they need it. They don't need Bama in the national championship. They don't need that at all. But I think they want Bama in the conversation of the college football playoff. That's what I think they want. The rest is up to them. But now the way this is going to dictate throughout the day, the way what's laid down in the scheduling, now we got to let football decide. It has nothing to do with the officials or the people in the front office and powers that be. Let's let football on the gridiron dictate who's going to be in this situation.
To me, personally, if you look at it here, these teams are all secured their spots in the playoffs, except for SMU. If Clemson wins, Clemson jumps up to the SMU spot. So they can't really bat that ACC portion out. The only thing that is going to question this if they let Indiana stay in.
See,
11-1.
I don't know if you watched First Take yesterday. They brought up scenarios of putting these teams in scenarios where there is no way out. It's going to be a beatdown. It's not a good look. We don't want a blowout. We don't want to watch a team lose 45-3. At this phase and this stage, trying to prove a point, trying to be, look, I told you. I don't want that. I don't want this at all. As horrible as we thought the point system was with the BCS, in the end, the BCS got it right. We're going to learn and grow from this here in the next couple of weeks if they got this right. But just thinking about what could possibly happen, what the scenario could be for Bama to get in. Are they worthy? What could be the scenario that Miami gets in? Is there any remotely possibility that South Carolina can get in based on the scenarios that can be played today? I think all 3 of those teams have a vital input on getting in if a scenario comes up where one of them could be in a discussion of being involved in that 12-team playoff format. But we can take it a step further. Can football, college football, do what basketball does in college? Do we need another tournament? Do we need an NIT in football?
That's some questions that, I have put in thing. If you look at what the FBS subdivision does, how they break their top 25 down and they actually play a playoff from the top 25, I think this is what the big boys are going to have to end up doing, because these conversations are never going to end with all this stuff. To me personally, if you look at Alabama's schedule, they lost to Vanderbilt 40-35. They lost to Tennessee 24-17. And then they go to Oklahoma and lose 24-3. Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, all the last part of the conference. Tennessee is the only playoff team that they really, besides Georgia, played in the last few weeks. They played Missouri, 34-0. Played number 15 LSU, 42-13. They played Mercer, 52-7. Then they go up to Oklahoma and lose 24-3, and they play Auburn, 28-14.
That was a beatdown. Just so, if Bama does get in, and we finish the season when we finish the season, we decide our national champion, I guarantee you in the offseason, they're going to make some type of adjustments in that college football playoff format, because they said that we don't care about the score. They said that. The committee said that. They said we're looking at more of the strength of schedule. We're not concerned about the score outcome of the game. Yeah, that's what they said. That's how they basically put it. So what is the criteria to be involved in the conversation, committee? They must give out the right criteria for each team to just look at the criteria and the guidelines. Okay, we meet this, we meet this, we meet this. Well, we need to work on that. We need to do this. But just picking out a straight 12, where we're at right now, a 3-loss team in this situation, there are a whole lot of questions out there that nobody wants to answer or can answer, but I think they will get answered today when all these games are done and we have a pretty clear understanding of what's going to happen. Now, if Alabama is on the out, if Bama does not get in, who could get in their place? Who would you put in Bama's place?
This is what I look at. If you look at Bama's schedule this year, they played Western Kentucky. They played South Florida at the beginning. They had to go to Wisconsin. They did play Georgia because they're in conference. They played Vanderbilt conference. They played South Carolina in conference. They played Tennessee in conference, Missouri and LSU. Then they get to the last part, and they got a Mercer team schedule.
But they got 4 out-of-conference games?
They have 4 out-of-conference games, but none of the 4 conference games they had was against any top-tier conference. Mm-hmm. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers.
Yep.
South Florida, American Conference. Then you got Mercer down here, which is unbelievable towards the end. So they didn't play nobody out of conference. All their tough games came in conference play.
You are right.
So you're going to tell me that they're 9-3, and all 3 losses came against SEC teams, but they played a non-week outside conference games.
We need a college football NIT. I think that'll make everybody happy. It's impossible to do what D2 and D3 does for as their playoff format, which I like, which I really do like. I don't know why college football doesn't go that way. Maybe it's more money in revenue for D1 in this 12 playoff format that they're in. But I think a NIT would be very, very interesting if they could somehow come to an agreement to get an NIT together in collegiate football. But I think the scheduling will probably be the thing.
But see, this is the thing I look at it too. But the D2, D3 get it right because they don't have no noise because their top 25 teams are the playoff teams.
Right.
Number 26 is sitting out. But the way they got it broken down, number 1, number 2 has a bye week. And the rest of the teams play. Then I had to look it up because all 25 teams are in the conference, are in the playoffs. Then you will have nobody arguing about who should be in, who should be out. If you didn't make the top 25, that's that.
I mean, we've come a long way.
But if you're going to put Alabama in here playing a non-conference schedule, what they played, and the only tough games they played were in conference because they had to play because they're a conference team, I think they should be penalized for that because they played a horrendous non-conference schedule, a weak non-conference schedule. So how does that build into the strength of the schedule? The only strength of the schedule came from Alabama was within their conference.
I mean, Florida had the toughest SEC schedule this year of any team, hands down of any team. And it does come back and bite you in the butt because these schedules are done a couple of years in advance. It does catch you at the wrong time. Like with the transition in coaching and not having the greatest Bama team out there, this schedule came back to bite them in the butt, not in a good way. Wasn't a good look. And they have not played what we deemed as great roll tide type football, but they have, even in the games that they lost, they had opportunities to win these games except the Oklahoma State game. They were never in that game. It's like they were mad at the coach. It looked like the players said, we're not going to play as hard as we want to. And we know that happens in sports when players get mad at the coach or things not going the way they're going to go. The alphas of the team step up and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And it really, really did look like that's what Bama did. They weren't buying in because they were not undefeated or a 1-loss, 2-loss team. They're a 3-loss team, and those 3 losses were not typical Bama style losses.
I mean, if you look at Miami non-conference game, they did have a tough game against Florida. They won 41-17 in the beginning of the season. Then they played Florida, A&M, and Ball State. But they did go and play South Florida. But they did go and play one tough team out of there for non-conference games. But they played in the weak ACC. Most people are talking about that. They beat Virginia Tech 38-34. They barely beat California, which I think they should have never won that game. But then they beat Louisville 52-45. Then they beat Florida State 36-14. They beat Duke 53-31. They lose to Georgia Tech. That really hurt 28-23. Then they beat Wake Forest 42-14. And then he let Syracuse come back and win at the end 42-38, which put Clemson into the championship playoff game in the ACC.
They were up 21-0. There's no excuse for that. They were about 21 points in the game. 21 points. And the defense just didn't do diddly-poo. What I tell you on the show that day before that game of the day, you had to watch for them. I watched the defense let them do anything they wanted to. It was still a good game. Yeah. It was a winnable game for both schools, but Syracuse took advantage of it more than Miami. Miami defense just said to hell with it. We're not listening to coach. We're going to do what we want to. Let's play sandlot football out here. That defense was atrocious.
I mean, you look at SMU. They played BYU, and then the other non-conference game was Nevada and Houston Christian, but they lose to BYU 18-15. And so, I mean, and then they destroyed the ACC the rest of the way. And now they got to play Clemson. So
some coaches and some players, they have a communication that nobody can match. And when they get in a situation where they both can really hone their skill set, and we wonder why they having such a hard time with this team, because some coaches look for that challenge, trying to figure out opposing teams' offense through his defense. And sometimes it's a chess match, and sometimes he's outmatched. But for the most part, when those teams are a little stagnant, we wonder why the low-scoring first half. It's because sometimes that defensive coordinator knows how to read an offensive scheme like that. So sometimes that is the mitigating factor in some of these teams' slow starts sometimes.
Yeah, and if you look at what I'm talking about, Arizona State and Iowa State is number 16 ranked in the college playoff. Arizona State is 15. If Arizona State wins, they jump up into college playoff because they won the Big 12.
Right.
So
it's going to be interesting to see how it all boils out.
And see, this is what the ranking has not shown. It has not shown a Big 12 team in the top 10. So if Iowa State wins, they jump in there because they're conference champion.
Right.
Unless they don't qualify the Big 12 as a Power 5 conference anymore.
That could be.
But if you look at the way they're breaking down the thing right now, they got Oregon State, they got Oregon in, they got Texas, they got Penn State, they got Notre Dame, they got Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, and Boise State, and then Alabama, number 11, and number 12, they have Miami. But my understanding is, if you win your conference championship, you get a spot in it. They had not reflect the Big 12.
You would think.
You had not put in the Big 12. You have no Big 12 and no Big 12 teams in the top 12.
It's a tough year for the Big 12. Tough.
So, but I mean, if Arizona wins, they should be playing in the college playoffs. Or if Iowa State wins, they should be in there because they're a conference champion.
Right.
So this is going to jump. All this reflection is going to jump. So this could leave Alabama still in the scenario right now, and not Miami out. But then again, if you look at the non-conference schedule Miami played, they played a little bit tougher because they played Florida.
It's a long shot.
Alabama is not playing anybody. South Carolina's at number 14.
I know.
Ole Miss is at number 13.
Shot. I said it's a long shot, but I would love to see South Carolina in it.
I think South Carolina would make more sense than Alabama.
Makes a whole hell of a lot more sense.
Even though
A
they
lot
lost
more.
to Alabama by 2 points.
They played a hell of a game too. Hell of a game.
Yep.
I still think officiating came up a little odd right there. A little odd in that game. But still, South Carolina had one hell of a year. And it's not over with. Still got bowl game situations right now trying to figure that out. But if they can somehow leapfrog, catapult themselves into this playoff scenario, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. But if you look at the scenario, they left the Big 12 teams out of the 12-man playoff. So you're going to have to put, if that's the requirement of you winning your conference, you get an automatic bid into the playoffs. So that's going to knock at least one of these two teams out, Miami or Alabama. And if you're going to rate Alabama's non-conference schedule to Miami's non-conference schedule, Miami should have the advantage because they did play Florida. They did play a Power 5 conference. Vice a non-Power 5 conference in Alabama.
Mm.
If you want to talk realistically about football and you want to talk about the strength of schedule, Miami's non-conference schedule was tougher than Alabama's non-conference schedule because by the consistency of playing a Power 5 team in Florida at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
What Power 5 conference did Alabama play out of non-conference?
None.
But what's going to get Alabama in?
We knew this at the beginning of the year. What it was going to come down to was November and December. Strength of schedule. September and October don't matter. As long as whatever. We know Notre Dame in the NIU situation, man, that happened so long ago. Rudy forgot about it. But when we see the schedule before the games are played, everybody's always trying to make up their mind what a team is going to be at, how this 12-team format is going to look. And then you bring it up today, what it actually looks like. The scenario that we had back in October, mid-October, going into homecoming weekend for everybody. All those scenarios have changed. And now we're to that point where we all thought it could happen. If it did happen, it's going to be the SEC. And it just happens to be Bama. Let's just say Bama would have had 11 in 1 year. I wonder who would be that 3-loss team if Bama was already in. Who would be that one hit? Who would be that team in the 11 spot that everybody's talking about if Bama would have played this year as they have the past few years, 1 or 2 losses instead of 3?
Well, if you look at it too, and you talk about December, November games, well, if you want to count that toughest schedule for Alabama wouldn't have a tough schedule in November or December because they played Mercer right there before they played Oklahoma.
No, I didn't say Bama had a tough schedule. I'm talking about the losses in November and December based on your schedule. They get a little hard to explain or get yourself out of because now we're getting to that point where we're looking at not just the rankings, but we're in the format now about the playoff portal, the playoff tree situation. So those losses that happen in November or December, I think that's why people kind of tiptoe around the way they play football in November and December. They're not as aggressive as they were in August, September, and October. November and December, we're seeing things. Wait a minute now. Hold on. You went for this 4th and inches 2 months ago, but now you want to punt the ball? So I look at things like that, but the teams that know how to play the college football schedule and understand the committee and understand how rankings work and understand how it can help their team either get on the board or they get a better understanding why they're not on the board. I think that helps with the translation right there.
Yeah, if you look at that too, and then the thing that really is this whole tell of the tape really is going to come down to how do they progress if they do count the Arizona State and Iowa State game, the Big 12 championship game, as a placeholder. If they do count that, then one of these teams is going to get kicked out of the top 12. Is either going to be Alabama or it's going to be Miami. Alabama could come in at the number 12 seed.
See,
if they count the Arizona-Iowa State game.
I don't want to get my feelings hurt. I think Miami has already kind of let the air out of the balloon on their hopes of being in the scenario of the playoff. I think they're already done. They're making plans to get ready for the draft. Some of them not going to play in the bowl game if it's not the bowl game of the people. I think If
but
what
then again,
happens
Miami's
happens
been
today, Bama's going to get in. If it's probably that Iowa State game in Arizona State, and of course the SMU situation, those two games right there can have a better chance of throwing out a helping hand to help Bama than anything else. But if everybody
and
goes
if
out
you
there
look
and
at it
takes
too,
care of business, we're screwed.
but then if you look at the situation, Miami's going to have a case of staying in the number 12 spot because they're 10-2, and they played a tougher non-conference schedule than Alabama played.
But at the same point, what the powers that be in college football is saying about the U, that being Miami, that Syracuse loss that really hurt any conversation, anybody listening to Miami, anybody even listening to them, according to the committee on Thursday. From the way they were talking in the daytime, all the college football shows that I watch and debates over the college football format and Heisman hopefuls performance based upon what Cam Ward did that weekend, it wasn't a good look for the U to even have a thought process of, hey, we deserve to be in this. On social media, yeah, it was fun going back and forth with them. But if you break it down to its purest form, Miami put their foot in their mouth in that Cuse game.
Well,
if they'd have just taken care of business, none of Bama wouldn't even be in the conversation. Everybody be saying, wow, it's great to have a whole new outlook of teams that are vying for the championship opportunity in college football. It's not the same. It's a whole different look. And that's the appeal of this format, that it's a different look. It's a different look. But to go with Oregon, Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame in the old format, that have been atrocious. Nobody wants to see that. This here is giving us opportunity to think outside of the box. Well, it doesn't always have to be that way. This is giving opportunities to programs that can be in the conversation of going further in the postseason push to get to the national championship.
I understand that, but I don't think Alabama is that team to get to the national championship. I think Alabama could be that team to lose the first round if they do get into college playoffs. I mean, because they have so much holes in the thing. But then if you're going to talk about strength of schedule, then that's blown. The strength of schedule is gone out of the window when you put Alabama in over Miami. That strength of schedule doesn't affect the rankings. It doesn't affect anything because if you look at the last 5 games that Miami and Alabama played, Miami has played a Power 5 teams in the last 5 games. Alabama's have played only 4 in the last 5 games because that Mercer game hurts them in that strength of schedule if you're going to go with that scenario of November and December games.
Right. And if Bama loses their first round game, you're going to get half of the country saying, I told you Bama wasn't ready. I told you. But if Bama goes on that hot streak, and we know that Bama, UGA, and who else probably scares me? Bama and UGA for sure. They have the uncanny ability to go on these hot streaks that you're not really paying attention to. And then when you hear about it, you're like, what? The staggering numbers they can put up, what the defense is allowing you to do or not to do, what the offense can do for its point production, yards as a team total collectively. It's things like that. They may be very small, but it can be a big formula in dictating the outcome of the game. Whether they make the adjustments at halftime or in-game adjustments, those are the things right there that really have me looking at these programs are built differently. They're losing the game, but they're losing the game in a way you can't even see it. And it could be a 14-10 game, but we're thinking it's probably 42-3 the way the game is being played.
Yeah, but if you're going to hold the playoff committee and the playoff things, when they set out the criteria, strength of schedule is going to be one of them. Well, your strength of schedule of non-conference game has to play in the portion because you can't rely on conference games to be your strength of schedule, even though you're playing the top tier teams in your conference.
Right.
You got to play a non-conference game that's going to be effective. At least 1 or 2 Power 5 teams outside your conference. If you're going to rely on your conference schedule as a thing, SEC is going to be hands down going to be up there because SEC is what the playoff standards are. Basically, that's what conference things are showing. But they throw out what stuff out of the windows to make arrangements for SEC teams. So what's the arrangement going to be for Alabama when they get in there? Only thing you're going to have is money. But you can't. But you're going to throw out non-conference games. Then you're going to throw out Miami's non-conference game, who has a playoff 5 non-conference team in that conference game against the SEC. And they beat the SEC team. So who did Alabama beat in the non-conference that will put them over a Florida team of the SEC? Nobody.
I don't know what the expectations were for Bama coming in this year.
And that's not a correct. Expectation is not a part of the criteria. Your strength of schedule is your criteria. Not conference championship is one of the criteria. But not expectations was not one of the requirements.
No, what I'm saying, I am asking, what was the expectations of Bama this year with a first-year coach that came in with a hellified resume and had a pretty decent team on the field? They didn't have a bunch of bums out there. Did not have all that. The expectations for Bama and Texas coming into the year, especially Bama, they way below the lines of expectations. Then the actual game play itself, and then the strength of schedule itself, the OI test, none of it lived up to the hype we thought we were going to get. But at the same time, I like the teams that they're giving us in this playoff situation, in this scenario. No one thought in a million years that Oregon and Texas would be in this position. Nobody. With the transfer portal, with the NIL deal, with conference realignment, no, I didn't see it happening this fast. It could possibly be a situation, but it actually happened right in front of us. Right in front of us. And I like the outcome of this. I like the fact it could be a different person win a national championship. I like these hyped up scenarios of who could play each other. But I don't want the college football committee and college football powers that be let this one team, that being Roll Tide, mess up everything that we've built to get to this point. They don't make the playoff with or without them. It's still going to go on. It's not one of those situations where Bama's not in, it's going to be a horrible playoff scenario. College football. No. That's why we're having the discussions and the debates either for Bama or against Bama, and being in it and not being in it, putting another team in this situation because we like the way the season's been panning out. But there is no perfect scenario to get Bama in here with those 3 losses. There is no perfect scenario. We have to play what if the entire day with that. The what if factor. That's the only way. What if?
If you look at that thing, Miami's 10-2. They had 2 games that were letdowns. But they were against a Power 5 team. But you're going to schedule a non-Power 5 team at the last part of your schedule to make you powerful there, then your strength of schedule is not there because your strength of non-conference strength of schedule is non-existent for Alabama. Right. They did not play a top-tier team or a Power 5 team in their non-conference. Miami has. Miami beat an SEC team.
The SEC, their conference schedule itself is tough, kind of like the SEC at points. But the ACC out of conference is a little bit more challenging than the SEC out of conference schedule. I think I'm agreeing with you based upon the facts that we have this year given to us on these SEC teams that deem themselves being a top tier. And then they had these out of conference matchups. We wonder, why are you playing Lower Manhattan Baptist University College? Things of that nature come up. Why don't you make a little bit more effort to get somebody a little bit more competitive? But sometimes not up to us. Not up to us. But it played out as it played out. Bama did not have the strongest schedule of any of these teams that are in the 12, 13, 14, or 15 spot trying to get into the party, trying to get up on the stage and all in the videos. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. The only thing that is helping Bama is the history of Bama. That's it. It's the name. It's that Crimson Tide. It's that fan base. That's the only scenario that they're in the conversation today and this morning. Everywhere, somebody's talking about why Bama should or should not, what happens today that could affect Bama getting in, or what doesn't happen today that could affect Bama not getting in. Those are all kind of scenarios and conversations going on. There is no perfect one. That's what makes Saturday so special. That's what makes Championship Saturday make you want to pay attention. Because I can't figure out right now, I'm watching these college football shows while we're doing the show, I haven't seen one equation comes up that supports Bama getting in if everybody handles their business today.
Yeah. And I mean, if everybody wins, Penn State, the only thing that's really not going to factor into the matter is going to be the Oregon. If Oregon loses to Penn State, that's not going to affect. It might affect the seeding part for Oregon, but it's not going to knock them out. It's not going to knock Penn State out either because they're playing the number one ranked team, and that's a tough schedule. That's a tough game right off the bat. So I mean, Texas and Georgia are not going to knock each other out. They might flip around a little bit. If Texas win, they might stay. They might move up to number one if Oregon loses. So, I mean, Georgia's going to stay right in there in the college playoff. Tennessee's going to stay probably right in there. Ohio State might stay in there, which they probably will because they're Ohio State. They got the pedigree. But then you got SMU, Indiana. You got Boise State's already in because Boise State won last night. They won their conference championship.
Hell of a game.
They're already in.
Hell of a game.
They're 11-1. You're not going to knock Boise State out. I'm sorry. Now, the seeding is going to be probably a little bit different for them. They might – because right now they got an asterisk mark saying they could be one of the top four teams in a bye, because the way they're ranked, they're 11-1. So that's that. SMU, if they win out, they could be one of the four, with a bye. So as something you got to look at here too. That's what SMU is really playing for. Indiana at number 9, I think they secured their spot because the only loss they came against Ohio State. Yeah, even though it was a blowout loss. But still, I think Indiana's played enough to get into the playoffs. Got 11-1.
Is there a team that you can see? Is there a team?
My problem with Alabama. My problem with Alabama is if the 11-1 team Indiana stays, they don't have a game. These 11-1. I have a problem putting a 9-3 team over an 11-1 team. I don't have a problem putting a 9-3 team over a 10-2 team, but I will have a problem putting a 9-3 team over an 11-1 team. Sorry. That's the way. And they can't jump Tennessee because Tennessee beat Alabama.
Is there a scenario you can see today where one of these teams try to come in and play? Let's just play it safe. Let's just play it safe. We're not going to go out and try to do too many things. Let's just play it safe. They're not being aggressive. They're taking their time with everything. Tick, 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 tick. Do you see a team doing that today? You think everybody will come out on all cylinders, all ready to go?
Well, the team I might think about could probably put in a coaster, maybe Oregon.
Yeah. See, I was thinking
maybe Oregon.
I think
maybe Oregon will be
more aggressive.
I don't think Georgia's going to play. I don't think Georgia style is playing conservative. I think Georgia style is going to go straight out, take the juggler out of Texas right quick, put the doubt in Texas' mind. I don't think Texas is going to lay down because what happened to Georgia in the early of the season against Georgia, I don't think that's going to play a factor. I think those two teams are going to be motivated to beat each other up. Notre Dame ain't playing, so I think Notre Dame is pretty much safe. Penn State might come out more aggressive than Oregon does.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That could be the only thing right there I'm really going to keep my eye on is seeing how that all works out, that first possession.
I think Clemson is going to be more aggressive probably than SMU because SMU thinks they're going to rely on their skill set handling Clemson. I think they don't have the urgency. I think Clemson's playing for the motivation to get into the college playoff. Probably play a spoiler to Alabama maybe. So I think Clemson's going to come out more aggressive than probably SMU. SMU is going to try to win the game methodically, probably running the ball a little bit more than what they have in the past. Not taking some of them cute chunk plays like they've been doing. That could be a game right there that you could see Clemson probably dominating really off the bat if that's the case that what SMU is trying to pull. I mean, that's a lot of scenarios here in them games. But what I'm thinking about is teams that are not playing like Indiana not playing. in their conference championship. And that's the problem I'm having is if Alabama jumps 11-1 team, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Alabama could make the playoffs. I ain't trying to wish them out, but I think they could make the playoff at the 12th spot because I think that Big 12 team is going to jump into that number 11 spot. I think you cannot keep a Big 12 conference champion out of the playoffs because one of the criteria is you win your conference championship.
Right. And that's what a lot of the committee members have been saying, you know, speaking on behalf of why teams in this position and what could happen, the criteria and all that, being in your conference championship, winning your conference championship kind of makes it a little harder to get that backdoor entry for a team to happen. Outside of the college football tree, before we get up out of here, you've had a very interesting week with your North Carolina Tar Heels, sir.
Been emotional week.
Think possibly about Coach Belichick, check, being your head coach, him and his son?
I thought it was at first when I thought it was a clickbait. One of them clickbaits you put on Facebook to get attraction. I thought it was that, so I didn't click on it. Then when the second post came out on Inside of Carolina, because where I get most of my news, I get it from there and I get it from Go Heels. When they started putting Belichick picture on there, then I kind of said, okay, they're interviewing him. Well, I thought he'd just interview him to see where he is and coming into college football because he never coached in college football.
Right.
Recruiting wise and being a recruiter and all that stuff. But then when he come back and said they interviewed him again for the second time, then it could be a little bit realistic that he might have some passion to come into Carolina. I mean, Carolina's not it's not a football school, but they had great talents come out of it, like Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
They had Julius Peppers, 2 Hall of Famers, Choo Justice, the running back, a long time ago. Ronald Curry. They had some good football players. Nature Means. They had some good football players come out of North Carolina. But I think Carolina's got a great place to bring in recruits, a pretty campus. Got the basketball team you could do. You got the female soccer who's playing for the national championship again. That's got more championship than any guy's team out there, including the UCLA men's basketball team. Yeah.
Don't the women play Wake Forest today?
Yeah, they beat Duke. Carolina beat Duke 2-0. Now they got to play Wake Forest again.
Because Wake Forest is number 1, aren't they? I think Wake Forest is number 1 in soccer. The women.
Yeah, but I think Carolina girls beat them this year in regular season.
Okay, that'll be a fun one to watch. I think it'll be interesting for Bill Belichick because he's opened up more this year, not coaching and been on these different football platforms. You see a different side of Bill Belichick. We know he knows football. And apparently he knows women too, because that's a nice one he got. 26-9. She's nice. But the recruiting side, I think that'll be more interesting and fun for Bill Belichick than anything. Well, I don't think that's a challenge for him. I think that's nowadays recruiting has changed across the board in college football. You have fans that don't like it. You have old school coaches that don't like it. But these new breed of coaches that are into technology and understand social media and understand how it works, they love it. They love how the fact they're clickbait or not, they're in these kids' homes who normally they would not have an opportunity, a chance to go in their home through unconventional ways, through the technology. I think that's the most.
I look at it this way too, and this is the thing I really look at about the whole situation is because this is where I look at it here. Your transfer portal is like your free agent in the NFL. So he's got a little bit of knowledge on free agency. That transfer portal. He's got a little bit of knowledge on that. He knows how to go into that transfer portal and tell them what the recruits want to hear, bring them to the school, let them do the thing, maybe have them commit. But the question I think he could keep the home ground talent in North Carolina, the talent that leaves North Carolina to go out to Georgia, goes out to Alabama, goes out to the SEC that want to play in the top tier. I think he could relegate that a little bit too. But the thing is, can he recruit on the level of college football to compete with like the Alabamas, compete with the Oregons, compete with the Miamis, to compete with SEC teams and getting these top tier recruits. I think he can. I think it could be a great hire for North Carolina if it comes to that tuition. But what is his tuition? Does he really want to? Is he using this as a stepping stone to try to get the NFL team? Say, hey, I'm interviewing for these colleges game. Hey, you might want to come and get me. You want me to stay in the NFL? So he could use that as a stepping stone trying to get back to the NFL too.
Well, if he falls in love with college the way Nick Saban did when he left the NFL, it could be a hard stay. Well, he's up there in a little age. That's why I like contractually the verbiage is for his son Steven to take over when he gets done at UNC. So I like that.
Yeah. So I mean that's a little bit of thing that you got to really watch out for, and to that thing there. Yeah, so I mean that's a little bit of thing. I mean the motion for me has been up and down the way they handle Mac Brown, but now they got Kitchen as the interim coach to coach the bowl game. Didn't let Mac finish out the season, let him coach the bowl game and stuff like that. I think that's the wrong way to do it when you have a Hall of Famer coach and trying to do it that way. Let him go out on his own term, have him retire at the end of the season instead of having him telling he wanted to be fired. They wanted to fire him before the North Carolina State game. Yep. But Matt Brown told him, no, I want to coach the North Carolina State game. So they let him do that. But he was already fired when he stepped on the field at the North Carolina State game.
Right.
So, but it's been a real emotion up and high, you know, in the state of North Carolina football program. I want to see the football program start challenging and to be in the top tier echelon, but it's going to be kind of hard because we are known for a basketball school. And that's the thing that was that if they get this higher, then that could change that a little bit around too. You got a Hall of Fame NFL coach who coached Tom Brady, who coached the New England Patriots to these Super Bowl championships. So to me, I like Bill Belichick. I liked him when he was the defense coordinator for New York Giants under Bill Parcells, when he had that defense with Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, and all those guys on that side of the field terrorizing teams.
Right.
So I know our defense will be better.
Oh, that's right.
It's just it depends on if he does get the job and who he picks for his coordinators.
It's almost kickoff time.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great day. Good talking about the college playoffs, talking about all the teams that are playing today on the All Sports All Place Network, on the All Sports All Place College Breakdown. I'm Ray. That is Dre. We'll be back next week to talk about the Armed Forces game and rebuttal about the playoff picks that they get right or got wrong and who got snubbed. We'll be talking all about that on the All Sports All Place College Breakdown on All Sports All Place Network. Until then, my friend, I farewell, adieu. Get you on the other side. Y'all enjoy all the college football games today. We're out.
All right, Ray. See you later, my man. Have a good one.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.